This week on Jerusalem Dateline, U.S. President Donald Trump launches a military strike against Syria because of its use of chemical weapons.
It is in this vital national security interest of the United States to prevent and deter the spread and use of deadly chemical weapons.
And the strike shifts the Middle East.
Do you think that America is back?
Plus, a look at how Arabs and Jews can study side by side in this school. All this and more this week on Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. U.S. President Trump ordered a military strike against Syria following a horrific chemical weapons attack by the regime of Syrian President Bashar Assad. The action promises to dramatically shift the Middle East and even the world. 59 Tomahawk missiles took off from U.S. warships in the Mediterranean, hit a Syrian airbase, and changed the dynamic in the Middle East. President Trump explained his reason for the attack.
Tonight I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield in Syria from where the chemical attack was launched. It is in this vital national security interest of the United States to prevent and deter the spread and use of deadly chemical weapons.
President Trump said the horrific images of the chemical attack changed his mind.
It was a slow and brutal death for so many. Even beautiful babies were cruelly murdered in this very barbaric attack. No child of God should ever suffer such horror.
Here in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu applauded President Trump and said in a statement, in both word and action, President Trump sent a clear message today that the use and spread of chemical weapons will not be tolerated. Israel fully supports President Trump's decision and hopes that this message of resolve in the face of the Assad regime's horrific actions will resonate not only in Damascus, but in Tehran, Pyongyang, and elsewhere.
Many smiling faces in this country because we think that America is back.
Former Israeli ambassador to Egypt, Zvi Mazel, said the strike sent a strong message to Israel and U.S. allies in the region.
I think they're very happy because, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, all Gulf countries were under attack of Iran. They were under threat to be attacked, to be taken over.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said the removal of Assad is on the table.
Assad's role in the future is uncertain, clearly, and with the acts that he has taken, it would seem that there would be no role for him to govern the Syrian people.
Will you and President Trump organize an international coalition to remove Assad?
Those steps are underway.
Whatever angle you look at that, what happened last night, is very, very important, very, very significant to the Middle East and also to Russia and China, because it's part of America arena. America arena is all over.
President Trump ended his statement with a plea for God's help.
We ask for God's wisdom as we face the challenge of our very troubled world. We pray for the lives of the wounded and for the souls of those who have passed. And we hope that as long as America stands for justice, then peace and harmony will, in the end, prevail.
At least 80 people died in the attack, and the British-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says 20 children and 17 women are among the dead. Here's a look at the aftermath of the attack, but we caution you, this video contains disturbing images.
الأعراض السرية كانت واضحة على المرضى، حصن اختناق، وزمة رئة كيميائية المشأ بمعنى خروج الزبد من الفم، حالات غياب وعي، حالات تشنجات عصبية، المرضى في الممرات، المرضى على أراضي غرفة العمليات، أراضي الإسعاف، أراضي غرفة المرضى. لم يستطيع المستشفى استيعاب هذه الحالات.
كنت نايم، ضربت الطيارة عمد، طلعنا أنا والبابا، فتت اللي جوتها راسي يوجعني. نمت ونيك مدري جابني لهون.
جدا جدا.
There's no excuse whatsoever for the deliberate attack on civilians and on children, especially with cruel and outlawed chemical weapons.
Prego per le vittime e i loro familiari. Faccio appello alla coscienza di quanti hanno responsabilità politiche a livello locale e internazionale affinché cessi questa tragedia.
He's a war criminal. What he's done to his people is nothing more than disgusting.
يا عالم يا الله، نظام مجرم، نظام طغى بالبلد، نظام فسد، يا عالم يا ناس، أطفال أبرياء.
Coming up, a look at the plight of Middle East Christians.
There's a great danger that there will be no Christian community in the Middle East in the next 100 years, maybe less.
Welcome back. One other tragedy in the Middle East is the persecution of Christians. For example, there's a chilling slogan that's found throughout the Middle East. On Saturday, we kill the Jews. On Sunday, we kill the Christians. It's graffiti written by radical Islamists. Scott Ross sat down a while ago with journalist Leila Gilbert right here in Jerusalem to talk about the link between the persecution of Jews and the persecution of Christians. It's a topic still relevant today.
Leila Gilbert is a California author who spends much of her time in Jerusalem. I spoke with her overlooking Jerusalem's old city and heard what she discovered about radical Islamic plans to first rid the Middle East of Jews and then of Christians. Gilbert arrived during Israel's 2006 war with Hezbollah in Lebanon for a 3-month visit and decided to stay.
And now, out of all this, a book. I was fascinated by the title, Saturday People, Sunday People. Define that significance.
It's graffiti from radical Islamists that appears throughout the Middle East. In the best terms, it says first comes Saturday, then comes Sunday. But there's a flag, a photo of a flag in the book that says, on Saturday we kill the Jews, on Sunday we kill the Christians. And that's where I got the title.
Gilbert says even though many of the world's Muslims are not violent, their voice is drowned out by radical elements.
There are 1.5 billion Muslims in the world or something. I don't think every one of them is a terrorist, but I think that the influences they're under now, both governmentally and in terms of mullahs and various mosques, there's an influence that's inescapable.
And under that influence, persecution of Christians in the Middle East has exploded, so much so that Christians are leaving in droves.
There's a great danger that there will be no Christian community in the Middle East in the next 100 years, maybe less.
Where in the Middle East are we talking?
Well, the countries that kicked the Jews out between 1948 and 1970, there are hardly any Jews left in those countries. There are about 10 countries. Now the Christians are going through the same kind of abuse.
You use the term in the book, cultural intifada.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I was referring in the book to the Temple Mount, which is where this is the most evident. But it has spread from the Temple Mount to Greater Israel because the Muslim, at least certain leaders in the Muslim community, deny that there was ever a temple on the Temple Mount or that there was ever a Jewish root in this land.
But isn't that why it's called the Temple Mount?
That's correct. In fact, even in some of the Muslim literature from the turn of the century, it speaks of the Temple and the Temple Mount. But this started with Arafat. At least the most public statement of it came from Arafat when he was dealing with Bill Clinton on one of these arrangements. And he said, well, there was never a temple there.
Archaeological evidence thrown out by Muslim builders from under the Temple Mount shows that not only were there first and second Jewish temples at the site, but at one time, there was a Christian basilica. Today, neither Jews nor Christians are allowed to pray, sing, or openly worship at the holy site.
Doesn't Islam believe that this is where Muhammad ascended into heaven on a white horse?
Yes, that's what they believe, and that's the only reason it's important to them. In fact, it's interesting. Jerusalem is not even mentioned in the Quran at all.
So why is it so important to the Muslims?
Well, the Muslims have sort of found political reasons to emphasize certain things over the centuries. And whenever Jerusalem has become important, it's become important because of their own regimes, wherever they were placed, whether in Syria or in Egypt or whatever. But now, of course, it's become the center of everything because they want a pan-Islamic empire. They do not want Jews or Christians in it. And that's why the focus is that there are no Jewish roots here. It's all made up.
Persecution by Islamists is not the only challenge for Christians here. I asked Leila how Christians relate to each other here in the Holy Land.
There are many Christian sects, denominations, etc., in this land. How are they doing with one another?
Not too well.
No?
They're not doing much better than the ones in America. And you know, you've got Christians arguing about prophecy. I mean, evangelicals arguing about all kinds of things, much less the old churches who have ancient rifts within themselves that go back to the 4th century. So it's not surprising, but what we know is that we all look pretty much the same through a jihadi rifle sight. And maybe we need to remember that.
Are you hopeful?
I'm hopeful because of my faith in the Lord and in His way of working things out. Politically, I can't understand what's going to happen. My hope is in Him. That's the only hope I have. And I believe in Him, and He's worked in my life in so many miraculous ways that I have to believe He's going to work amongst His people and bring them together and protect them.
Up next, see how one university is a model of coexistence with Jews and Arabs living and studying side by side.
It's a good atmosphere. My relationship with other people is very good as well, and I don't have any problem with anyone here.
Welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. Lately, there's talk of a regional peace conference to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But you may be surprised to know there are some places here in Israel where Jews and Arabs live and even study together. CBN's Scott Ross brings us that story from Israel's biblical heartland.
This is Ariel University, located in the hills of biblical Samaria. Established in 1982, the school sought to improve higher education here, especially in the sciences, engineering, and health.
We're standing in front of now a particle accelerator.
Yes.
What is the purpose of a particle accelerator? Does every home need one?
You do have a little one in every home.
Really?
You have a microwave oven.
Okay.
And in the microwave oven, you have a little particle accelerator, and it creates the radiation.
Professor Aharon Friedman told me there are only a few of these machines in the world.
The main research that we actually have occurring here now is cancer research. We have discovered that that particular radiation causes cancer cells to kill themselves.
Kill themselves?
Yes.
Put them on a suicide mission.
Exactly. But all the healthy cells are alive and well.
The university's home is Ariel, what some call a West Bank settlement and territory Palestinians want for a future state. It's also land promised to the Jewish people as an eternal inheritance in the Bible.
But you have been boycotted at times.
We have been boycotted.
Who's boycotting you?
European governments, the U.S. State Department.
Oddly enough, despite the politics, the university represents a model for coexistence. 15,000 Israeli, Jewish, and Arab students study here together without a problem. I spoke with a variety of the students: Shira, a Jewish woman from New York; Efrat, a religious Israeli woman; Eli Ran, a reserve soldier; Yasser, an Israeli Arab; and Yossi, whose family immigrated from Ethiopia.
Why did you choose to come to Ariel University?
I was looking for where there's a good psychology program, something an eclectic student body, and I found it here.
Okay, any of the rest of you? Why you?
Because of the professional, of course, the professional department here, and especially in communication.
The people here are so warm and happy, and the teachers too. It's a small university, so they can give a good care to every student they see.
Do you agree with what he's saying about the atmosphere, the relationships?
It's a good atmosphere. My relationship with other people is very good as well. And I don't have any problem with anyone here.
Do any of you get any hassles or problems from family members because you have chosen to come to school here?
There are a lot of hostile Arabs around here, and there is a lot of incidents around here. So the parents are afraid for the children.
It would seem that you could be a model for the rest of the country between Jews, Arabs, whatever. Is that true?
Yes, I think so.
Of course.
In my apartment, the next door is Arab people, and we have a good relationship. We don't have a problem at all.
Are you surprised by how effective you guys are?
Well, I'm not surprised. I have to be part of the system here that sends a message to everyone. The thing is that people remember this place from bad times, harsh times when things were rough or bad publicity in the news, but no one really comes here to see what's happening, so they don't really know.
Well, that's why we're here.
No, maybe we will change something.
Yeah.
No, because I think that people really think that it's a very hard or not a safe place, but it's not true.
Chancellor Yigal Cohen Orgad credits the university's success to creating an informal atmosphere where students see each other eye to eye.
Do you have many conflicts here in the university?
Thanks God, not at all. We passed in Israel 2 intifadas, this university. There was no one evening or one day of tension between Jews and Arabs that study here.
Despite its cutting-edge research, pastoral setting, and quiet campus life, some see Ariel University as a controversial place.
Have you had problems with the international community or with the other Israelis?
We don't have problems with other universities and research institutes. We have real problems with many governments, first of all in Europe, and part of the American government, i.e. the State Department, that tries to boycott us, formally or informally.
Why?
Because they think we don't have the right as Jews to live here in Samaria.
Do you have hope for the future for peace for Israel?
I am sure one day we are going to have peace with our Arab neighbors. Based on these understandings that we are here to stay, we shall find the way to live in peace.
Scott Ross, Ariel University, Samaria.
Coming up, an encouragement to pray for the people of Syria when we come back. Welcome back. Those images we showed earlier of the chemical attack inside Syria are difficult to watch. But with this U.S. military strike, at least some here in the Middle East are hopeful it might signal the end of the long and deadly Syrian civil war. Please pray for an end to this tragedy that's torn this region apart. And please pray for the Syrian people. And as the Apostle Paul reminded us, pray for leaders in authority like President Trump and other leaders in the region. Well, also remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And please let us know what you'd like to see on our program. You can send us a message to our Facebook page. That's all for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.